Let's pick things up there with tonight's political insider. Joining me, Ben Kamisar, staff writer for The Hill. Ben, Justice Scalia spent nearly 30 years as one of the most conservative voices on the Supreme Court. Now it's divided between 4 liberal and 4 typically conservative justices. The ideological tilt is up for grabs. Before we get to logistics, put this appointment into context for us. Does it become the top campaign issue now of 2016?
Certainly it becomes, if not the top, one of the top campaign issues. This really is, the Supreme Court's a tangible representation of what the president can do, not just when in office, but decades to come. So when you're looking at, what is the direction that the country is going to be in, it really underscores this debate of, going towards more liberal policies, going more conservative policies, when you know that there's this much at stake for years to come.
President Obama has less than a year left in office. Will he be able to get a new Supreme Court justice confirmed before leaving office? That's the big question of the day.
Frankly, no. He probably won't be able to. I mean, the president has said he's going to put someone forth. He's going to nominate someone over the next couple weeks. That said, it seems like that's going to be dead on arrival in the Senate. You have Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell saying he does not think that the president should be the one deciding this appointment. He thinks that the next president should be doing just that, and in his hopes that it'll be a Republican president do the same thing. And on the other important figure is the Chuck Grassley, the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He agrees with McConnell. So if those two people are united against it, it's tough to really see a path forwards for getting this filled sometime before 2017.
Ben, what are the possible avenues that could play out in Congress for all of this?
Yeah, so basically you need, the president puts up a nominee with the advice and consent of the Senate. That typically means a 50-vote threshold that the Senate would pass through the body. Realistically, with the partisan bickering the way that it is, that really means that there'll be a filibuster, so you need a 60-vote threshold. The most likely scenario is the president offers a name, and the Senate Republicans say thanks, but no thanks, and they don't hold a hearing and they don't hold a vote. If there is enough grumbling for a vote, the Republicans have a 54 vote coalition in the Senate, which can basically stop anyone from moving through because of that 60-vote threshold. The one way that you'll be able to see maybe that someone could get through is if the president puts up someone so moderate that you can get a coalition of 60 members from both sides of the aisle to coalesce around and force a vote. But in order to move further to the right to woo over some Republican members, he'll be, casting aside some of the more liberal senators that may not actually want to pick someone who's more moderate. So it's pretty much unlikely to see that happening.
It's a pivotal time for the Supreme Court. There are 3 other justices over the age of 75. The next president could shape the court for a generation on issues like abortion rights and the legality of gay marriage nationwide. Politically, who benefits? Will this fire up the base on the right, the left, or both? Well,
it'll certainly fire up both sides. I mean, you take a look at what's already in front of the court right now. Issues like abortion, issues like affirmative action, the environment is always up there. This is really going to, I think, fire up both sides, specifically in the base, because, like I said earlier, this is the best way that a sitting president can really shape where the direction of America goes for decades. So this next president may have 2 or even 3 appointments that they can fill, either, shoring up this conservative base that we've seen on the Supreme Court for the past couple of decades, or actually ushering in a new, more progressive Supreme Court, the likes that we haven't seen in also decades.
Now, Senator Ted Cruz is already using Supreme Court issues and attack ads against Donald Trump. He calls the real estate mogul, quote, very pro-choice. Is this a risky move for Cruz? We haven't even had Scalia's funeral yet.
Certainly, I mean, the politicizing of the issue so soon after the death is risky, but I think really the more risky issue is not for Ted Cruz, it's more for the Republican Party. As far as Ted Cruz is concerned, if he can't knock Donald Trump off of the front-runner status in the Republican Party, he's not going to be president. So It makes sense to try and push a little bit and maybe to take this stance for him, but the real concern is what this means to the Republican Party. Donald Trump held a press conference today where he lambasted Ted Cruz for attacks such as these and said that he may sue the senator over his birth, over his being born in Canada, whether or not he's eligible. But even more, he once again floated a third-party bid and said the RNC needs to step in and stop Ted Cruz from being unfair. So this actually may not be as big of a deal for Ted Cruz. It could be a bigger deal for the party if it spurs Donald Trump into a third-party bid.
It's going to get more and more exciting. Ben Kamisar, staff reporter for The Hill. Thanks, Ben.
Of course.